You deserve to be well compensated for the work that you're doing in the world. I want you to think about that for a second. You deserve to get well compensated for the work that you're doing in the world. The world is designed in such a way that money is supposed to flow from bad people to good people. And if that's not happening right now, it's not the world, it's not the design of the world, it's what's happening inside of your head and also with your actions. So, when would now be a really great time to start getting paid what you're worth? That's what today's show is all about. Welcome, my name is Ed Rush. You're here for how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. This is EdTalks Live, and welcome. Hey there, it's Ed Rush, five-time #1 best-selling author, a former F-18 fighter pilot, and your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today, we're talking about how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. This is part 2 of a 2-part series on how to get paid for your ideas, your knowledge, your input in the world, and your time. And I'll tell you from experience, I've been paid millions, at this point probably over $10 million, to give business owners, entrepreneurs, and career-minded people advice. It's a great job, and it's something you can do too, and we're gonna talk about exactly how to do that. Now, on Monday, I shared with you the 3 steps, or the 3 ways that people get paid. Number 1, for what you do. Number 2, for what you know. And number 3, for who you are. And I talked about how you go up that ladder to number 3, you get paid more and work less. The second thing I did is unveil 3 strategies. I'm going to review that in just a second. Those 3 strategies were: number 1, to own your value; number 2, to target the right market; and then the third one is to understand communication or persuasion. In other words, how to get someone to say yes. And I'm going to go a little deeper on that yesterday. Now, if you missed yesterday's show with Michael McIntyre, that's this show that we did yesterday, $1 Billion Sales Strategies. You'll remember that Mike and I talked a little bit about the word closing. The word essentially means how to get somebody to say yes. And on the show, we talked about 2 things. Number 1, asking for the sale, and number 2, objections, countering objections. I'm going to go a little deeper on that today too, on the topic of advising and consulting. As usual, we should have a little bit of time towards the end to answer your questions, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and flat out get it done. For those of you who just joined us, this is a show that runs daily, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. We call it the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. If you haven't already done so and you're on YouTube, the chat is over there to the right. If you're on Facebook or Periscope, the chat is right below you. And I want to say hello to some of our friends as usual. Jim Butts, who checked in before the show even started, my man. Denise, welcome. Part 2, grab your pens and a piece of paper to write the stuff down. Dennis, put my feet on. So Dennis is referring to yesterday. I admitted that I was on a 21-day stretch to get up at, my goal was 5 o'clock on the beginning of the clock. And I actually, Dennis, set my alarm at 5:58 so that my feet will hit the ground at 5:59. But you beat me, and you're on the Pacific West Coast here. So literally, your feet were on the ground 60 seconds before mine. This morning was tough, man. I don't know. Sometimes I boom out of bed. This morning I was more like I was in a slow motion movie or something. Vancouver, BC, baby. Hello, Terry from Yorktown, Virginia, there with his beautiful wife, Cherie. Hello, Delisa. Delisa was doing my sound check for me. 5:55. Had to go to the bathroom and then back to bed. That's a win, man. That counts. You got to just get up. You don't have to stay up. You just have to get up. That's all. So, hey, Tom, Ed leads us out of the wilderness. It takes a lot of effort, and we appreciate every minute of your wisdom. Thank you, my friend. Hey, dude, email me. I want to jump on the phone and catch up with you, too. Barry, hello, Professor Rush. Hello, Professor Gamir. John, welcome from beautiful. Yeah, I'm wearing my America shirt. I have another one over there that says, I'm going to wear one of these shows coming up that says, should we just try potentially turning America off and then turning it back on again? But I did this one. Since 4:30, man. Mike Semmel, home of the Thunderbirds. Mike sent me a picture yesterday. Apparently the Thunderbirds did a flyby of the Las Vegas Strip. and for all of the healthcare workers that were down there, which I thought was cool. Hello, Cherie, good to see you, and Richard McLean, welcome to the show. All right, so today we're going to roll up our sleeves and talk about how to get paid for your, how to get paid what you're worth. And I told a little bit of the story back on the first episode. If you haven't watched that, it's worth going back. You can see the title is almost exactly the same, and you'll find that on my YouTube channel at edtalkslive.com. But when I talked about that, I took you back into a story. Essentially, it was my first consulting day. One of my friends who had been coming to my events said, hey, could we pay you for your time? I said, my fee's $5,500, but for you, Henry, I'll do it for $25. And the next weekend, they went out and made $189,000. Now, what I didn't tell you is about 4 years after that, I got together with a friend of mine named Mike Koenigs, and some of you know Mike. Mike and I did a little experiment, and Mike basically came and asked me, he said, you've been doing this consulting thing for a while. At this point, I had had over 100 one-on-one clients. Now I've had over 400. But when I met with Mike, it was about 7-8 years ago, he said, do you think you could take what you've learned and put it into a system that other people could use? And I said, I could give it a shot, and I'm sure I could teach people the methods that I'm using and the things that I'm saying and the questions that I'm asking. And so Mike and I brought 27 people into a studio in San Diego. And for 3 days, I just opened up the kimono, figuratively, not literally, and taught them everything that I knew at the time about coaching and consulting. Now, at that time, I was not advising. I'm gonna talk about the difference of that in a second, but I had been doing coaching and consulting, and my deals that I taught them how to do were $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000 deals. We had 27 people that came in, and then we sent them off. And then the next group came in. There was about 25 people in that next group, and we sent them off. And all of a sudden, the stories started to come in. The first one that came in was a $57,000 deal, not a $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 deal, a $57,000 deal. Her name was Carolyn Sampson, and she did a year-long deal with a doctor to help her on her digital marketing. The second deal came in, it was $55,000 or $15,000. The next deal that came in was $45,000. The next deal that came in was $5,000, then $3,500. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, these people are soaring. I mean, they were really out there doing it. So after about a year of doing these classes, 20, 25 people in a little studio, giving them all my forms and templates and agreements and everything, Mike and I did something that can only be described as terrifying. We sent out a survey. Now, I don't know if you've got products or services or coaching, but asking people how they're doing is terrifying. And the reason why is because there's that little inner voice in the back of your head that's telling you maybe they're not that successful. And I know that we had some deals come in, but there were about 112 people roughly that had come through in about a 1.5 year period of time. And I knew about maybe 5 or 10 of them, but I didn't know about the rest of them. So we sent out this survey and we said, how much money have you made? How long did it take till you made your first deal? What were the average prices of the deals that you had done in terms of consulting? What we got back totally blew us away. 87.4% of the people who responded said that they had closed a significant deal within the first 2 months of the training. Half of those said that they had closed a significant deal within 2 weeks of the training. And these were anywhere from $500 deals all the way, like I said, up to in the $50,000s of dollars. And that's when I knew that we actually had something. That's when I knew that teaching these things were really, truly empowering people to go off and change the world. Now, in the introduction, I told you that the natural flow of wealth in the world should be from evil towards good. Okay, so if you just look at the way the world was designed, and if you simply look at the media that we watch, I mean, think about the movies that you watch. The stories that we have been told are stories that are inside of our heart. As people, we understand that in the end, the bad guy gets it. And in the end, the hero wins. The reason why we tell stories about that is because that's true to the human DNA. That's the way it should be. And you can look in any religion and look at the text. So for example, in the book of Proverbs, a book written by a brilliant king, in the book of Proverbs, one of the richest kings in the world, Solomon, says that the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. In other words, what he's saying is there's this natural transfer that's supposed to happen from bad people to good people. And I said in the introduction, if that's not happening, it's not because the world is broken, it's because there's something broken in the way you're implementing. Now, I don't want to give you any guilt, okay? And I don't want to put you on any kind of guilt trip, but what I will tell you is that the good people that I know are not making the money that they deserve, not because the bad people in the world, but it's because of two things. Number one, it's the way they think about themselves. And number two, the things they do. Now, when you have those two things in place, you can look at those in different categories like this: mindset and skill set. When you have mindset and you have skill set, you put those together in implementation. Naturally, if you're a globally conscious, heart-centered entrepreneur, naturally the money will begin to flow to you, okay? So the reason why good people get themselves in trouble, though, is you all seen late night infomercials, right? So you've seen the guy on the late night infomercial who's just pushing it past the moral and ethical limits when it comes to offering and selling things. And when that person pushes it, what good people do is good people retreat past the point of no return. There is a pendulum with everything, right? So you've got people way on the right side over here who are pushing it way past the marketing limits. And then there's people way over there who have great products and services and ideas, but they're not willing to get themselves out into the world because they're trying to avoid being too pushy. Now, most of the people that I work with, if they pushed it as hard as they could when it comes to the marketing, they would still never even get past where they actually should be, okay? Because they've retreated so far. And so what happens is when good people retreat is that bad people fill in the void, okay? So our world is being led by bad people. Our companies, the biggest companies in the world, are being led by bad people with bad hearts and bad intentions. And that's our fault, frankly. That's the fault of good people for not getting into the market, rolling up our sleeves, and flat out getting it done. So this series that I'm in right now, and I can tell you just looking at the clock, this may turn into 3 parts. I said it was going to be 2 parts, 2 of 2 parts. I probably should have said part 2 because it's probably going to move into the 3rd and maybe even the 4th. But this series is designed to show you how to make more money, have a bigger impact, and live life on your terms. It's designed to do that because I believe you are a good person with a good product or service and a good heart. I believe that if you sit down with someone and give them ideas, that those ideas are going to work. And I believe that you have the same morality when it comes to products that I do. I told you in the first show, there are 2 rules when it comes to marketing, persuasion, promotions, and offers. There are 2 rules. You can make more if you want, but the 2 main rules, number 1, you always keep your promises, okay? You always keep your promises, which means if you say you're going to do something, you do it, okay? The second thing is you under-promise and over-deliver. You under-promise and over-deliver. Now, sometimes life happens. And when that happens, you just overlay the first 2 rules. So some of you know, some of you are registered, by the way, for the upcoming Ultimate Speaker event. Well, I'm recording this show on April 15th. We were supposed to have this event in 8 days. Well, we're not going to have an event in 8 days because everyone's at home, stuck at home. So when life happens, what you do is you go back to this rule right here. Under-promise and over-deliver. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to get paid for your ideas, your time, and your expertise. I'm going to do a quick review. By the way, if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. If you just joined us as well, jump on the right-hand side if you're on YouTube or below on Facebook. Please tell me who you are, where you're from, and what you do in chat. We usually have about 20 people very active in chat, and then there's another 50. Y'all just kind of watch, and that's okay if you just want to watch, but every once in a while, just say hello. And if you really don't want to say hello, then at least click the like button, all right? So I want to just say hello to some of my friends. Kyle Aaron, my man from San Diego. Kyle is doing absolutely incredible work mentoring students here at San Diego State University. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us. Matt Head from Oregon, done with bark dust. I like it. John, and Denise are just talking to each other. I love it. Ben says, going back through Top Gun right now, it's a part of my job, 21-day thing. Listen to Pam talk about obvious atoms yesterday. So Ben's referring to actually the third iteration. Remember I said we brought those folks into the office and did a consulting? That the original one was called Author Expert Marketing Machine Certification Program. You don't need to remember that. That product doesn't exist anymore. Then I did one with Pam Hendrickson, and then I did the Top Gun Consulting Program, which is the third iteration, by the way. I'm on now my fifth iteration of my advisor training program. It's called the Strategic Advisor. The previous one, some of you have it, was called Consult and Profit. All right, David Zetz, you missed it all, dude. You missed it all. Jim House, what's up, dude? First day without a client, he says. Sandeep, welcome. Sali, hello. India, thanks for joining. Robin Roberts, love seeing you as well. Hey, Charlie, snowing in Bozeman. Bam, it's like April, dude. All right, that Top Gun Consulting Toolkit, man. That was the first consulting product. What came after that was Consult and Profit, which doesn't exist anymore. What came after that was Strategic Advisor, which does exist. You can find that over at edrush.com/products. Hey, Claire, welcome to the show. All right, so I'm going to jump up on the board, but let's just do this. If you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is a show called EdTalks, the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Just to tell you this, for those of you who have been with this community since the beginning. We started out with the name Bunker Bash. That changed yesterday to EdTalks Live. There's a reason for that. I think this is so valuable, and I think that this community is so amazing that I thought, shoot, after we get out of our houses and actually go about life again, we're going to want to keep doing this show, okay? And just as some motivation, I've got some challenges coming up for you, some implementation challenges that have results attached to them. And the folks who get the implementation done and the results, you're going to come on and be a guest with me on the show, okay? So there's some reason for some motivation there as well. All right, come on, let's get started. So I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard here and we're going to start into the content. Here's the deal. I'm going to teach probably straight for about 20, 25 minutes. So get ready to write some stuff down. I'm going to move fast. If you're watching this on a recording, there are notes below that have timestamps as well. But if you're watching live, you're in luck because we're going to do some Q&A at the end of today's show as well. And again, if you just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. This is EdTalks Live. Today we're on part 2 of how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. If for some reason you missed part 1, you can always go back and watch that, but I'm going to do a little quick summary here as we go. All right, so I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard and we are going to get cranking. And I'm going to do very, very, very quickly, I'm going to do just a little bit of a review on what we did, which was Monday's show. And this will take just a couple minutes. I just want to set the foundation for where we're going today. So first things first, you remember on the show on Monday, I said there's basically 3 ways to get paid. Number 1 was for what you do. This is 96% of the world. Number 2 is for what you know. This is about 3.9% of the world. And then number 3, for who you are, that's about 0.1% of the world, and that's where the actual money is. Your goal in the ladder of success is to move towards the bottom. That's why, by the way, people who are consultants and advisors who are out there are also active teaching and training online on social media, because the goal is to build a brand where people are attracted to who you are so that they can learn what you know, so that they can go off and implement and change their lives, okay? So the second thing I taught on Monday were the 3 strategies, okay? And this is really where you start. So the first one is to own it. I'm not gonna go through this again. Basically what that was teaching you how to mentally agree that you're worth the price that you're paying and be willing to go out and do it. And really that first step starts right up in your head. The second one that I shared was how to target the right market, or the second step was targeting the right market. I'm gonna go deeper in that today. Some of the questions that I got on Monday were like, Ed, where do I pick a focus area? If I'm gonna be getting money, if I'm gonna be getting paid to help people, where do I start, okay? And I'm gonna talk about finding a target market. And then the third one, on Monday, or on part 1 of the show, I talked about persuasion. And if you remember, I said there were 2 things in the world when it comes to convincing people to do things. There's persuasion and force. Force is where a government or an entity makes you do something, and persuasion is where someone convinces you of something. So for example, as a parent, my goal is to use persuasion, communication with my kids, to use my example as part of my persuasion, but not to use force, okay? Force, I think, is a degraded form of trying to help get something done. And if you look at the worst governments in the world, I can think of some right now off the top of my head. For example, like North Korea is one. China would be an example of another one. Iran, some of the worst governments in the world do things not through persuasion, not through convincing people of things, but through force. Okay, now, I'm not going to go down this rabbit trail today because I could right now if I wanted to with regard to what's happening in our country, all right? But by the way, just so you know, I'm on a 7-day news fast, so I'm not watching the news, listening to the news, hearing the news. Sometimes I'll see something if somebody sends me something, but that's about it, okay? So I'm trying to keep my positive attitude. All right, so quickly, I want to talk about this idea of persuasion. I want to talk together about how to get someone to say yes. Now, this is a word that a lot of people shy away from. And the reason people do, remember the other day when I said that, earlier in the show, I said people see the late night infomercial people and then go backwards and go, I don't want to be like that, and then swing all the way to the other side. But then what happens is that means that you're not putting yourself out there in a way that is compelling for people to respond to you, okay? So when it comes to persuasion, there's more steps than these two that I'm going to give you, but the two main ones when it comes to being a coach, consultant, or an advisor, okay, is the first one is asking for the sale. Now, you might remember yesterday, Mike McIntyre and I did $1 billion sales strategies. By the way, I had great feedback on that show yesterday, and I talked to Mike, and he's going to come back, so we're going to do $1 billion sales strategies reloaded. Just like the Matrix Reloaded, okay? And yesterday we talked about asking for the sale, and Mike had a way of asking for the sale, and I taught one as well. And the way that I teach my consultants, the people that I work with, is very simple. When it gets to the point of the show, when it gets to the point of the, you can see what I'm thinking about. When it gets to the point of the discussion where it's time for someone to take the next step, you ask a question. Grab a pen because I'm going to give you this question in a second, but I'm going to tell you that this is the money part, okay? So this is the part of the discussion that a lot of people never ever find themselves getting to. And the reason people don't is because they're worried that the person's not going to like them, or that maybe the person's going to say no. But I can tell you this is the part that's attached to money. And so what I did, because I knew that my students, the people learning from me, were going to have a little bit of a challenge getting past this. This is like that moment. You know the moment when I'll do it from a guy's perspective, when you're talking to that girl in high school and you know you want to ask her out on a date, but asking that question carries a little bit of risk along with it because she might say no, okay? That's this part here. But what I did for my students when it came to consulting, advising, and coaching is I made it easy, okay? So the phrase that I've been teaching now for 8 years goes like this. Just write this down. It goes, so, are you ready to get started working together? So if I'm having a conversation with someone and they're interested in working with me and I'm starting to talk about price and maybe some of the things that I'm going to be delivering, I'll look at them and go, so you ready to get started working together? And then what happens at that point is the person will do one of three things, okay? They will say yes, which means, like send them an agreement and get paid, okay? They will say no, which they never say. I said this yesterday. No one ever says no. They go, oh, let me think about it, or oh, I don't know. Okay, so that never happens. And then number 3 is they might ask a question. Now, when you hear salespeople talk, a question is called an objection, right? Now, I don't love this term. I actually like the term question better. And the reason why I like the term question is because that's what it is. And to me, sometimes when someone says objection, it sounds to me like, I object, and nobody ever in a conversation about doing business with you, you're never like, so, you ready to start working together? And they're like, I object to your pricing model. They don't ever say it that way. They might go, I am, it's just I need to think about it, okay? And so your job as a compelling, persuasive person is to take these questions and turn them into answers that someone will move forward with. Now, there's more to this. So for example, and I don't have time to go deep on this, there's more to this. So for example, one of the things that I'll do with these questions is I'll do something called the yes before the yes. And I taught this on yesterday's show, but the yes before the yes goes like this. Now, John, I'll say to my person sitting next to me, and they'll go, we just have a couple of questions. And I'll go, great, John, I'm here to answer your questions because I want to work with you. I think you want to work with me. So let's put this thing together so that we get a great deal. Now, before we get started, I'm assuming that, we go through your questions, and if I answer the questions to your satisfaction and we have a deal that you're interested in, that you're going to be ready to move forward on that deal. So that's a yes before the yes question. The reason why I would ask that when somebody is beginning to ask some questions is because if they say yes, then they're more likely to move forward on the deal at the end, and they have to say yes, right? So no one's going to say, hey, I've got some questions, Ed. And you go, well, I'm assuming if we answer the questions and the deal is something that you're interested in, that you're going to move forward, and they go, no. Nobody's ever going to do that, okay? So the first step is to ask. The second step is to counter the objections. And again, remember what I said, I don't love that word. The word that I actually love is just questions, right? And it's usually just questions. So for example, someone will say, at the end of a discussion with me, they'll say, okay, everything sounds great, Ed. I just need to go home and sleep on it. That's just a question. That's just an objection. Or they might say something like, I just need to go home and talk to my spouse about it. That's a question. That's simply an objection. That's them asking something about the deal. Now, you don't necessarily know what that is, but a lot of people who are involved in sales or making offers, at that point, so for example, if somebody said to you, Ed, I'm super interested, I know your name's not Ed, fill in your name, I'm super interested, I just need to go home and sleep on it. Most people go, okay, well, go home and sleep on it, okay? And that's about it. But here's what a great salesperson does, okay? Great salesperson will go like this. John, listen, I want to give you the time you need to really think through this, because this is an important decision for you, and it's also an important decision for me. Now, just one question. When people say to me that they need to sleep on it, sometimes that means they need to sleep on it, and other times what that means is there's maybe one or two remaining questions that if you just ask the questions, we'd be ready to move forward on this thing. So is there anything left over that is just kind of in your mind that you just want to get out that we can discuss so that together we can move forward on this deal? I'll usually ask that question when someone says that they need to sleep on it. And a lot of times at the end of that question, I'll go like this. Is there anything remaining that you need to think about? Like, for example, the price. Is there something we need to talk about the price? Sometimes I'll just throw the price out there, because usually, by the way, the price is the big issue, okay? Now, the good news, and again, I don't have time to go through all the objection trees and everything like that. The good news is if someone's talking with you about your price, they're ready to go, okay? So it's down to the numbers. And as you get to the numbers, if somebody says, how do you know it'll work? And how many times have you done it before? And can I talk to some of your other clients? If they're asking those questions, you're farther away from the deal as to when they're like, all right, let's talk about this price. When you're on the price, that means you're going to get a deal, okay? So this is a big picture overview of a discussion of persuasion. Now, there's two resources for you, and I don't have the link. I have one link. I have two resources for you inside on my website at edrush.com/products. There are two resources. The first one is a course specifically on persuasion, and it is called The Secret Weapon. I've got 3 layers on this course: basic training, flight training, and Jedi Master level. And by the time you graduate to Jedi Master level, 10 minutes a day, by the way, just 10 minutes a day, do your 10 minutes a day. By the time you get to Jedi Master level, you are a master persuader, okay? I can teach you this stuff fairly quickly in an immersive environment, all right? So if you're interested in investing in that course, there is a 30% discount for that right now, okay? So it's edrush.com/EP. Boom, I almost lost my pen. edrush.com/EP, which is my secret code word for effective persuasion. When you put the when you put the number 30 in the coupon code, that gives you 30% off, okay? The second course is a course called the Strategic Advisor. That's my fully developed course on how to get paid as an advisor. And if you email me at support@edrush.com, I'll give you a good deal bundling both of those courses together, okay? I'm gonna give you 2 for the price of 1, actually. Okay, so this is persuasion right here. Now, I'm gonna pause for a second and just say hello and chat and make sure I didn't miss anything, all right? So, let's see. Gary says, this series is the best anti-anxiety. I love that's great. All right, so No, this is Gary Rush, by the way. No relation other than awesomeness. Jim says, when persuasion fails in parenting, you're tempted to use force. He's right, man. He's right about that. All right, so let's see if we missed anything else. Yeah, edrush.com/products, edrush.com/EP, and then you get 30% off there. And if you want to just email me, I'll give you a good deal. All right, I'm in a deal-making mood. Deal-making, coronavirus deal-making mood. All right, so I'm going to move fast today. I'm going to move fast. By the way, in about 10, maybe 12 minutes, I'm going to get into your questions. So start writing your questions down. You're going to tell me those in chat. In fact, Dennis just asked one. How do you handle it when a prospect's first question is, what's your fee? Which, by the way, is almost always the first question. Okay, so I will get to that question when we get into the Q&A. All right, so if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is Ed Talks Live, show on how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. This is part 2 of originally part 2 series. It might be 3 or 4 at this point now that I'm looking at my notes. The goal of this is to show you how to get paid for your knowledge, your time, your experience, or your story. In other words, how to help people make money or be healthier or grow in their relationships or anything, okay? And I've helped hundreds at this point, now probably thousands of people make very good money. Some of them are right here on chat, okay? Using nothing more than their ideas to help people accomplish their goals. And there's a lot of money out there trading hands even right now for people who can help people. And if you can help people, which by the way, consulting or advising is nothing more than helping people. If you can help people, you can get paid very well and have a big stack of thank you notes. I should bring my thank you notes out here. I've got a box this big. It's got hundreds of thank you notes in there from clients. It's amazing what happens when you help people. Okay, so I just talked about persuasion, about the idea of asking for the sale and then countering objections. Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to pick a focus area. So sometimes people ask me, hey Ed, how do I pick an area to focus on? And some of you have that. Some of you got addiction, or some of you, teaching, helping people with addiction. Some of you, I don't mean to be mean. Some of you have addictions. No, I meant some of you help people with addictions. Some people help people with relationships. Some of you help people with organic gardening. Some of you help people with business or digital marketing or growth or speaking or telling stories, okay? But some of you sometimes come to me and say, hey, how do I find an area to start? And even if you're in one of those areas, sometimes you want to find another one, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about picking a focus area. And this should help you, by the way, if you still already have one. But the first thing that I will tell you is that you don't have to be an expert, okay? And certainly not now, all right? Here's what you need. This is the qualification to help someone as a coach, consultant, or advisor. You need to have a willingness to help people, okay? I told the story in the first show. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but I'll tell you that there were 2 people, of the 400 some clients I have, there were 2 people that brought me in that were worlds better than me on the topic that I was helping them with. One of the best digital marketers in the world brought me in to help with a product launch, a digital marketing product launch. 2, actually, now that I think about it. One of them is a New York Times bestselling author. Brian Tracy, one of the best speakers in the world, way better speaker than me, brought me in to help him with a component of his speaking, okay? What I learned there is you don't need to even know more than the person that you're working with. You just need to have a desire to help them. And sometimes smart people are simply looking for a second opinion. Okay, the second thing is that most of the people that I work with, which basically means most people, undersell, undervalue, underestimate their understanding and the knowledge that they have in the world today, okay? The third thing is you can become an expert at almost anything in about 30 minutes a day, okay? About a month ago, I started getting active on Instagram. Now, full disclosure, up until about a month ago, I saw no use for Instagram. It wasn't my medium. It wasn't the place that I like to hang out. It just wasn't me. By the way, I don't really do social media at all. Personally, I could do without Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I like to read a book, hang out with my kids. I'm not a big online, be on my phone kind of person. But I do have about 80,000 people that follow me on Instagram, and I realized it was an area that was underutilized in my business. So about 30 minutes a day, I just rolled up my sleeves and started to learn how to use Instagram, learn how to use stories. And then just last weekend, I started learning Instagram advertising. And in about a 3-day period of time, just with some trying and some testing, I added about 700, check it out, 700 new names to my email list. Now, I'm not an Instagram expert, but I can tell you that most people that I know do not know how to get new email leads from a place like Instagram. Not an expert now, but I'm guaranteeing you someone would be willing to pay me to help them figure out what I just did. Okay, my point there is it took about 30 minutes a day. It wasn't even a month. It was about 30 minutes a day for about a week until I discovered something that I could potentially help someone with. Now, I'm not offering myself as an Instagram consultant. There's other people out there. My point is for you, sometimes the money is on the other side, or the knowledge is on the other side of the money. And I can tell you, I have had people who came to me as my students who closed a deal with someone promising something that they went off and learned how to do after they got paid. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you underpromise and overdeliver and keep your promises, okay? So the first one is you don't need to be an expert now, and a lot of what holds people back sometimes is you feel like I gotta learn everything before I put myself out there. The truth is, the fastest way to learn someone is to get someone to pay you to do something somehow, okay? Second one is the how. So how do you find an area to focus on if you don't have one? So one of the ways is just to look at like what you like. Like for example, Diana Lovejoy, who I think is actually on chat, is an organic gardener. She helps people with their organic gardening. It's something she likes. It's something she likes to talk about. And it's something that people come to her about that, okay? Another one is, what do people ask you about, right? So if you're at parties, what are people like, hey, catch me up on, if it's something they're excited about, talking to you about, then there's a potential that somebody could be paying you money for that, okay? Another one is maybe it's part of your story, right? So someone I was talking to just a week and a half ago had a massive health challenge about 20 years ago that redefined everything in her life, relationships, everything. That's now part of how she helps people, okay? She helps people going through those same challenges. Sometimes your ability to help people comes directly out of your story, okay? Another one is, what are you interested in? What's something that you're interested maybe in learning more about, okay? Another one, I'm running out of board here, is what people want. This is actually really important, okay? Sometimes you can find a consulting area simply by finding out what is it that people are interested in? What is it that they're after, you know? What is it that they're excited about? You start looking at those things, and if you dive into those things and begin to learn them, you can get paid for that, okay? And then the last one is, what will people pay for, okay? So, you know, like I learned early on in my consulting career that like I don't watch it anymore, but I used to like watching UFC. So I used to brew beer. I don't brew beer anymore. I haven't even drank anything in 4 months. So I used to brew beer and watch UFC. And I really liked home brewing beer. I really like watching UFC. Don't do either of those anymore, but I did about 5 years ago. And I realized 5 years ago, I can't get paid for people to come and watch me sit on my couch and drink beer and watch UFC, okay? What I could get paid for was helping people grow in their speaking business, helping people get more clients, helping businesses grow, helping people live more vital lives around their calling, helping people build great teams, helping people fix their way they're thinking about themselves and their business. Those are the things I realized I could get paid for. I could help people be more persuasive. I could help people be more productive. Those are some things that people pay for, okay? So fundamentally, any of the ones that you do up here have to wrap themselves into what would someone be willing to pay for, okay? And by the way, you would be surprised at what people would be willing to pay for, okay? So this is some ideas on how to pick a focus area. So I'm gonna come back really quickly and say hello in chat. Boom, Aubrey, it's almost like I asked you to ask this question. Excuse me. I got it like in my notes right here, dude. So thank you for asking this question. She says, you previously mentioned doing a consulting event. Is that in the works? So not 100%, but the tentative plan right now is I do two big events a year. Spring event, which might be a summer event, and then a fall event. Tentatively, I'm thinking about doing the fall event, Aubrey, as an event called the Ultimate Consultant, okay? Or the Ultimate Advisor. It's an event about getting paid for your time, your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, and helping other people, not necessarily businesses, and getting paid well to do it. And I've got a good 3 days of teaching that I can do on that, including all my forms and scripts and agreements and presentations and how to do it on the stage and how to do it one-on-one and how to prospect people on LinkedIn and all kinds of stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Okay. The other event that I'm looking at potentially doing, full disclosure, is an author event, Ultimate Author, where you come in. It's designed if you're going to write your first book or another book, title, subtitle, cover, you launch the book, we help you get the bestseller, okay? And again, I've got a good 2 to 3 day event on that one, and I've got some people that I'm talking to expert-wise to bring in for that as well. So those are the two events that I'm thinking. You let me know what you're interested in. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, so some good questions that are coming in here. Yep, Gina said that right. Best way to learn something is to teach it. And again, I've had people that didn't know the topic as well as they wanted to. They got paid, and the person paid them knew that they were going to be learning as they went. They got paid to help people, and sure enough, that'd be awesome. Nabi, daylight savings time, it's gone backwards by 2 hours, which means I get up much earlier, but I don't mind. We had this long discussion, Nabi, about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I don't think I'm going to do that forever. I just swallowed a piece of ice. Sorry. 21 days. Go back to waking up when I wake up. Normally I wake up whenever I wake up. I literally go to sleep and then just wake up whenever my body gets up. I think that's actually the most healthy thing to do. But Michael McIntyre got me into waking up at 5 something. So enter coffee. All right, welcome coffee. By the way, Rock Creek Coffee in Montana is the way to go. I keep forgetting I got a coupon code for you. I should find that before we get done with the show because their coffee is amazing. All right, so Denise says both would be awesome. All right, cool. So here we are. Hang on a second. I'm going to get into my last little teaching segment, and then I'm going to come back and answer your questions. If you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. This is part 2 of an installment about consulting, advising, and coaching. We just talked about how to pick a focus area. The last thing I'm going to cover before I take your questions is how to market to that focus area, okay? So just a basic starting primer on marketing yourself as an advisor, coach, or a consultant, okay? Now, if you've never thought about this before, in my opinion, it's the fastest way to get paid. People ask me at events all the time. They come up and the question is the same. It's interesting how the question's asked, and it's almost always the same. It goes like this. Hey, Ed, how do I make like an extra $10,000 right now? And it's interesting that that's the number that people say. I'm talking about like 90% of the time, people say that, how do I make another $10,000 right now? That's something about that number that's just really interesting to people, that first 5-figure bump. So when people ask me that question, I always say the same thing. Go get someone to pay you right now to help them in their business or their life. Because the truth is, if you want to start an internet marketing company with products, you got to launch the products, you got to record the products, you got to sell the products, build a website. It takes time. If you want to do a brick and mortar business, shoot, now you're not even going to be able to for a while. But if you want to do a brick and mortar business, you got to get the brick and mortar, you got to build it, get it all going. Shoot, if you want to be a speaker, there's a build for that. Great business, but it does take some time to build a little bit, right? If you want to be a online expert on a topic, you got to build the following. If you want to be a consultant, coach, or an advisor, you could do that this afternoon. I'm not kidding you. Right on your phone, there's people who would pay you to help solve problems, because consultants, advisors, and coaches are people that just solve problems, right? Remember I said the first qualification is that you need the willingness to just help somebody. and people will pay a lot of times for the solution to their problem. Okay, so let's talk about how to market. There's 3 things, and then I'm gonna come back and talk about your go through your questions. Okay, so the first one is people you know. Every year, I do an exercise. I don't have time to teach it in its fullness, but I have an exercise called the 21-Day Speaking Miracle. This is designed for speaking. You can do the same thing for consulting. You take out your phone and you go through your email and you grab a journal and you write down every single name of someone that you know that could potentially want to pay you for the help that they need in their business or their life. Every time I do this, and I don't have a lot of people from the events and stuff that I meet on my phone, every time I do this, I have a list of 100 people and there's 20 that are good. In fact, in the top 20, there's some people that I've been talking to that for some reason I never finished the conversation, and they were interested 6 months ago. We just never finished the deal. And I'm telling you, right now on your phone, right now on your LinkedIn page, right now on your Facebook page, right now on your Instagram, there are people who would be willing to pay you for the solution to the problem that they have. Okay, so the first step is people you know, and I'm here to tell you, most of the people that I work with start here and get paid $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 like that. Boom. Okay, it's nothing more than solving problems. Okay, so really quickly, sometimes people ask me this question because they're like, yeah, but I don't want to like market to my friends. Here's all you need to do. Just make sure they know that this is a business. Okay, so like if I'm going to text somebody, it goes like this. Hey, John, I don't know if you know this, but I just launched a business where I help business owners like you get more leads and get more customers using social media. Let's jump on the phone if you're interested, and you and I could probably work out a deal. And by the way, since you're a friend, I'll make it really good for you. Okay, now I'm going to just pause and just tell you that little script that I just gave you works because you just told the person if they come to you, they're going to pay you. Did you catch that? I don't know if you know this, but I just launched a business helping small business owners like you get more leads. So let's get together and do a deal. When I said launched a business, let's do a deal, that person knows you might be paying them or they may be paying you. Okay, so the first one is people you know. Okay, and don't be weird about that. You can market to your friends. You just can't market to your friends and them not know that there's money involved. Okay, that's weird. That's what like the MLM people do, where they invite you to like lunch, and next thing you know, you're in like an Amway meeting. I know. Look, I don't want to make fun of Amway because I know there's like great people in Amway, but the Amway meeting I was invited to, I thought I was going to dinner at Denny's. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Wait, why are we going over to this conference room? Okay, so if you're gonna market to people you know, don't be weird. Don't invite them to Denny's and then bring them into a conference room, okay? Just have them know ahead of time that you're talking about this. Oh man, that's not on my notes. Don't do that. All right, second one. I don't know why I do that. So the second one is called OPP. Remember that old song in the 80s? You down with OPP? So I'm not gonna sing it. OPP is other people's people. This is people that other people know, okay? So let's say you start a business helping people organic garden. Well, reach out to your friends and say, hey, I just started a business helping people with organic gardening. It's a paid service and I'm just getting started, but I was wondering if you knew anyone who wanted to get into organic gardening that I could help. Other people's people, okay? And the third category is everything else. That's your LinkedIn page, that's your Instagram page, that's the stories that you tell on Instagram, that's your Facebook page, that's YouTube Live, you talking to a camera about your topic and partway through going, you know what? I'm thinking about doing this event on consulting, which is awesome because it's right here in my notes, Aubrey. It's the next thing I was going to say. And she asked the question, but you know what? On your platforms, you can start talking about these things. And next thing you know, people start raising their hand. Hey, I'm kind of interested in that. As long as they know that there's potentially money involved, you could potentially make money doing that. Okay? So that's just a big picture overview. What we talked about today is how people get paid, some strategies to get started in consulting advising, how to pick a focus area, and then how to market to your focus area. Again, thinking about maybe doing an event this fall called The Ultimate Consultant. We'll see. It sounds like you're interested though. So that's the plan for the fall. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. We got about 5 minutes left. I'm gonna jump over to the other camera. Man, today went fast. These teaching days. So I'll tell you what I have left to teach is pricing models. And I thought I was gonna get to that today, but there are 6 pricing models. There's 6 ways to get paid. Most people choose number 4, which is the wrong one. Okay, so probably next Monday, we'll probably do part 3 of this series, and I'll teach the pricing models and some more of the persuasion stuff. All right, so if you just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. This is EdTalks Live, the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. This is how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid with your worth. It's actually part 2 of at least a 3-part series. In the beginning of the show, I said it was 2 parts, at least 3 parts, maybe 4, but that is today. All right, I'm gonna take your questions. We got a few minutes left to do that. Just remember tomorrow's show, I've got Kevin Freeman, my friend Kevin Freeman coming in. Look at that, I spelled that wrong. Oh no, I got it right. I thought I spelled economic wrong. My eyes is going crazy. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about the coming economic war and how to win it. Kevin is a guy that briefs Congress on international threats to our economy. Brilliant guy. He's also an investing expert. So we're going to talk a little bit about money, how to move money in a good way that helps you and helps the world. On Friday is the Ask Me Anything show. What that means is that you get to come on and ask your questions. Nothing's off limits. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer it, but nothing's off limits. All right, so that's Friday. But let's jump into your questions. We got a little bit of time just to bounce around on that. Gina says she's a night owl. 5 a.m. only works if I stayed up all night. Yeah, that's exactly right. The whole conversation. Boom, Jim, I gotta get up here because that comment, I appreciate it. Just want to share with you that the one-on-one coaching day with you, Ed, many years ago was the most expensive investment I've ever made in myself at the time, and it radically changed my business and the activities I focused on a daily basis. I needed someone I trusted to say, do this. That is so cool, man. Thank you for that. By the way, the advising that I do, I call it do this, this will work. So most consultants say, try this, or here's what I recommend. And what I say is do this, this will work. There is a level of certainty sometimes that you need in your business and your life. And that's what I try to do in my advising. And again, as we get together and do an event on this, I can go deeper into how that actually works and how you know sometimes that something's gonna work. You can look your client in the eye and tell them to do it, but it'll be a good time. All right, so I wanna jump into some questions. I think I saw the first question from Dennis. All right, here we go. So question number 1 from Dennis is, how do you handle it when a prospect's first question is, what is your fee? And I said when he asked that question, that's almost always the first question. So Dennis, typically what I do on that one, and when you come to Ultimate Speaker, June, I'm gonna give you some specific scripts on how to do this with meeting planners, because meeting planners ask you 3 questions. First question is the date, second question is the fee, third question is your topic, and the second question comes within 4 minutes of being on the phone with them. Small talk, date, fee, okay? So most of the time when someone asks you the fee, you're not ready to talk about the fee, because the truth is, most of the time someone asks about the fee way in the beginning, you're not even sure exactly what you're gonna be doing with them, okay? So I handle this in 2 ways. Number 1, I usually ask a question or 2 after that question to redirect and reframe just a little bit. The second thing is I usually, if I'm going to give them a fee, I give them a fee range, where the range is artificially built high so that I can come down to the number that I actually want to. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna teach the first one. So if somebody says to me, so Ed, what's your fee? I'll go, well, my fee is typically based on the kind of work that we do together, the kind of exposure you'll have to me and how many meetings and when we're gonna meet and how long we're gonna be working together. So give me a couple of ideas of the big results that you want in your business. Tell me, what are the biggest challenges you're having right now in your company? So I'll tell them my fee's based on multiple things, and then I'll ask a question. So that's the first strategy. The second one is, sometimes I'll just do this. Sometimes I'll go like, Dennis, you and I are talking. Sometimes I'll go, well, Dennis, my fees typically range from $25,000 to about $80,000, but everyone's different and every business is different. And I want to put together a deal that is really a slam dunk for you. So let's start talking about your business and your objectives. So did you see that? I just take the range, I kind of throw it out there, but that's not the number. You noticed I'm not quoting a fee. I'm not saying it's $25,000. I say my range is normally 25 to 80, but I'm going to work with you so that you can get something that's a slam dunk and we can move forward together. So my point is, anytime I start talking about numbers in the beginning of, actually, come to think of it, anytime I talk about numbers one-on-one with a client, I don't do like, take it or leave it. Here's the number, take it or leave it. It's always a fluid process of working with someone. Like, for example, if somebody says, let's say I have a student of mine who's offering a deal at $10,000 and someone pushes back and goes, man, it's just out of our budget. I'll have my student say this. So give me an idea where your budget is. What's your range? Maybe 5,000? And the person will go, yeah, 5,000 works for us. And then my student will go, well, it's a $10,000 deal. It's gonna be hard for me to get to 5, but I could probably get to 8. So why don't we do this? I'll take these 2 things out and we'll do this package at 8, and that's getting closer to your budget. Or here's what we could do. You can get everything, and instead of doing 10,000, you can do 5,000 this month and 5,000 next month, because you already told me that 5,000 is inside your budget, and then you get everything. So how does that sound? Or how does that work, right? Do you see how I just did that? So that price was 10, I dropped down a package closer to their number, and then I gave them the full package, but at 5,000 and 5,000. So my point there is, I'm always willing to work with somebody and to move things around to try to get a deal going, but at the same time, respect the integrity of the pricing, okay? So hopefully that answered that question. Aubrey, I just had to ask your question again because it was awesome. So she said, you previously mentioned doing a consulting event. Yes, let's talk about the fall. Let's talk about the fall. Probably the second question is, what do I get for that price? Or do you have a stock stack of things to draw from? Or to turn around a question, let me first understand. Yeah, but remember, I say the range of the price and then ask a question. And the question is a question every business owner answers because it's the one they really want to answer, right? So did you catch that? My range is typically 25 to 40, 80,000. But Dennis, I want to work something out that's a slam dunk for you. So let's start with the big challenges. I mean, tell me the 3 biggest challenges you're having in your business. At that moment, the business owner's like, talk to me, okay, I'm about the challenges. Jim Butts, question. You don't need to be an expert. How does this fit with being paid for what you do know or who you are? You're not an expert, so it's not about knowing. Well, first of all, the people who get paid for who they are aren't experts barely at anything. I mean, like, you know, like Kim Kardashian's getting paid like $1 million to stand on a picture. So the first thing to know is as you get farther up the ladder, you probably need to know less, okay? So the more influential you become, I'm not saying to know less. The more influential you become, the less what you know becomes important, okay? The second thing is understand that when it comes to getting paid for what you know, it's actually not for each of the categories. Getting paid for what you do, getting paid for what you know, getting paid for who you are. For each of the categories, people aren't actually paying you for what you know. People are actually paying you for the result that's happening in their life or their business, okay? So when I'm talking to somebody like Oz from Iron Core, who is my fitness guy, when I was talking to Oz on the phone about coming over and teaching me kettlebells, I was less interested in what he knew and more interested in what he could do for me, the kind of transformation that he could help me accomplish with my body. And so ultimately, even though the conversation was about him and his techniques, for real, it was actually about me. So remember that even if somebody's interested, Jim, in what you know, and I know you've been doing this for a while, I mean, you've been helping people launch and write books, right? It's less about what you know, and it's more about what kind of result can happen in that person's business. Okay, so let's keep rocking and rolling. I think that might be, let me make sure. 2 more questions. Dennis said, good stuff, Ed. Thanks, I'll replay this. Oh, yes, so today, we did a lot of scripting today. At least four or five times, I gave scripts, and I went through them fast. By the way, when y'all come to Ultimate Speaker, and I know a lot of you are registered for that, you're gonna get all the scripts in the manual. So they're all written out for you. You don't have to like write them all down. But on the videos, when I go through scripts like this, go back, review, write it down, and do it slow, okay? David Zetz, I had a prospect ask me that he and his wife wanted to get going on a program asking for a discount. How do you generally handle those situations? So the first thing is, if I have a choice, David, I will add value rather than discount. In other words, I would rather say, hey, you'll get the second thing in when you take action now, rather than taking the price down, okay? So first one, add value instead of discounting. The second thing is I usually try to set my discussion up so that the person, I'm a lot of times willing to make a deal when I'm talking to somebody as long as it works for both of us, right? So sometimes I'll do something different maybe on the payment plan. Or maybe I'll do something a little bit different in terms of the delivery, or something will get taken out in exchange for taking the price down a little bit. But usually what I try to do, let's say it's a $10,000 program. I don't sell 10K programs anymore for coaching or advising, but let's say it's a 10K program. Instead of getting paid 10K, or instead of discounting it down to 8, I'll make the payments, 4 payments of 2,500 or something like that. In other words, I'm still getting paid 10K, it's just over time. Now, so the first one, add value. Second one, make payments. The third one, David, if you're going to drop the price, which is okay if you do, if you are going to drop the price, get a yes before you drop the price, okay? So let's say you're at 10K and you say to the person, man, it's going to be hard to drop far off at 10K because that's really a good deal for this program. But let me ask you a question. If I was to get you down to say 8,500, would you be willing to move forward on this thing? And they go, yeah, I think that we would. All right, great, boom, shake hands, deal's done, okay? So, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to drop to 8,500 and then have them negotiate something else. So if I'm going to drop the price, I'm going to say, so let me ask you this. If I could get you, if I could get you down to 8,500, would you be willing to say yes and move forward on this thing today? They say yes, I say yes. If they say no, then I'm like, well, what are we talking about the price for anyway? If you're not going to want to move forward. All right. So that's good stuff right there, dude. That's good. That's good stuff. That's the kind of stuff we do, man. I love it. This is fun. We used to do a lot of this back when we had these certification programs. I love it. All right. I got this question from Barry, and then one other question from Gina. Good. Barry says, how do you handle their expectations? They want you to do the work instead of the client doing the work. All right, so I think you're registered to come to Ultimate Speaker, because Barry, you'll see about a day of this expectation. I say it like this. Hey, look, here's the thing. You don't want me doing the work. It's gonna be way too expensive for you to pay me to do this, but here's what you want. You want someone to look you in the eye and to tell you, do this, this will work. And then you can have anyone else on your team implement the things I'm going to recommend. As long as you do what I tell you to do, it's going to work, okay? And I say it that way. I said, look, you don't want me. And truly, the insane amount of money someone would have to pay me to actually do, like to run an Instagram ad in their company. Are you kidding me? You know how much I would have to charge to make that? I mean, I'm not kidding you. To like come out of my business and do that in their business. I say, look, you don't want me to do that. Here's what you want. You want someone to look you in the eye and tell you, do this, this will work. And look, if I give you an idea, it takes me 5 minutes to give and it makes you another $500,000, think about that. You didn't pay for my time, you paid for that idea, okay? So I'm always leveraging the value of the implementation of the idea, not the execution part. That's their job, okay? All right, boom. Yeah, because I got Oz working with me, Terry. It's the filter on my camera. So I'm just kidding. All right, David Zett said, boom, that's money, you're the man. All right, last question, then we're gonna land, we're gonna bring this airplane into a nice landing. Gina says, the advisor area of your website doesn't have any details about prices or advising packages. If we're starting out, should we come up with packages and list them on our website or not? No, okay? The answer to that is a hard no. I recommend also for speakers, do not put the price of your speaking fees on your website. Don't put your advising consulting fees and don't put your speaking fees. Do not. Okay, here's the reason why. It's kryptonite no matter where you go, okay? So let's say, remember I said $25,000 to $80,000 is the range? Let's say somebody wants to bring me in as an advisor for a company and give me a percentage of their company, which I'll get sometimes, a small percentage of growth. They want to give me a percentage of the company and then they want to pay me a retainer and the whole deal comes at $150,000. And they're a $10 million company that I'm going to turn into a $20 million company. And over the life of the work that I do, I'm going to get paid another $200,000. That's $350,000 bucks, man. If I put my fees on there, someone's going to think, oh, I'll just pay Ed this when we could be doing a lot more together. At the same time, let's say, for example, so my speaking fees run in the $7,500 to $12,500 range, depending on the event and what I'm doing. Okay, but I just had a meeting planner call me, or sorry, a speakers bureau call me and say, hey, there's an event at the Hotel Del, which is in San Diego. It's a year from now, and they gave me the price, and it was half of my low end of my fee. It wasn't even close, but it's here. Like, I get in my car, drive there, speak, sign some books, drive home. And if I do an event in Tampa, I got to leave today, get there tonight, speak tomorrow, fly home. It's at least a 2-day trip, and Hotel Del Coronado is like a 20-minute drive, okay? So yeah, I'm willing to work with somebody on the fee. I'm not gonna do it for that price in Tampa, but I'm gonna do it here. So if I had it on the website, people would go, oh, it's too expensive, and they won't even make the call, okay? So I do not do that. Denise asked the exception. By the way, some speakers bureaus will put your fees on there. All right, nothing you can do about that except for ask them not to. Okay, it's ideal for you not to have your fees on any other part of your website. Sometimes the bureaus will. It's best if they don't. It doesn't matter for the bureau if the price is up there anyway. Sometimes that helps for them. Sometimes it doesn't. Somebody I haven't seen for a while. What's up, Dylan? Good to see you, man. Welcome to the show. Glad you guys are here. And we are rocking and rolling. Gina, look at those two beautiful dogs, man. I love it. All right, so we went a little over today, but for good reason. If you just joined us, we're about to end. My name is Ed Rush. This is EdTalks Live, how to stop trading hours for dollars and start getting paid what you're worth. Tomorrow's show, by the way, do not miss tomorrow. I'm interviewing my friend Kevin Freeman. Kevin, one of the smartest people on planet Earth, especially when it comes to the economy, just a genius, okay? And I'm gonna bring him in. We're gonna talk about the economy and what's gonna happen over the next 2 years. You're definitely not gonna wanna miss that. And then by all means, make Friday's show. That's Ask Me Anything. You can ask me anything you want. All right, so I'm gonna stick around for just a couple minutes to say hello to you in chat. Thank you for joining me. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, click that like button. And there's a button usually that says share. That helps a lot. It would be awesome if you just click that and just said hello. I usually see those, by the way, and I often share those back. So it's another good way for you to get a little exposure from my list too. This has been EdTalks Live. My name's Ed Rush. We'll see you tomorrow. It's going to be a great week. Go off and implement, all right? Talk to you soon.